Loads of people say that the man should always pay. Traditionally, you're supposed to be the provider. The alpha bros will also say that you're pathetic if you're not able to support her. They also say that women, even in a relationship, are always on the lookout for a better man. And that's gauged by how much money he makes, of course. So you need to be sure you've got the most. Loads of women will say that they won't date a man unless he pays. They expect it. He needs to make at least 6 digits. Loads of women will brag about how they trick men to go on dates just so that they can use them to get a free meal. This expectation that you should be paying for everything is leading men to feel taken advantage of, bitter, resigned, and just not interested in dating. But why pay at all? Where does this expectation of payment come from, and should you ever pay? Why women like to see a man pay is because they like seeing him take action on her behalf. She likes when he picks the place out, picks her up, takes her there, and pays. When a man does this, it draws attention to the sexual dynamic between a man and a woman. It makes her feel seen as a woman by a man. This feeling of being seen is often talked about in friendships, like when your friend tells you, "good job," or laughs at your joke. It makes you feel visible. You feel recognized in some quality of yours or what you've achieved, like working hard on that job or being a funny person. In a romantic relationship, this same idea exists, but with the sexual dynamic. We want our sexual nature to be recognized. But not just by anyone. I mean, sure, it's nice when your mom pulls your cheek and says, "Oh, aren't you so handsome?" But it's a totally unique kind of visibility that's given to you when a young, sexy lady who sees you in a sexual way says, "You are so handsome." Even just that look, she is making you feel seen in a sexual way. That feeling is sexual visibility. You don't just get this by giving her compliments or getting compliments. It's through all of your interactions with her. Opening the door for her, picking the date out, picking her up for the date, paying for dinner, holding her arm, initiating sex, and so on. All of these interactions draw attention to that sexual dynamic, and that is why women want you to pay for dinner. They want that feeling of visibility, to feel like you see them as a woman, not just a friend. This is actually what romance is the giving and receiving of sexual visibility. And just as a side note, the sexual dynamic that exists between men and women, that gives rise to all of these interactions that give us this sense of visibility, all of that is grounded in the facts of the differences between men and women, both physically and psychologically. But that's a video for a different time. So, does this mean you have to pay for everything? That you're a weenie unless you're shilling out money all the time for women? No, it doesn't. The whole reason you're taking her out and treating her in this way is because you want her to feel like you see her in a sexual way, that you're taking care of her in a romantic context. But the thing is there are so many ways in which you can communicate that to her, not just by paying for things. And that's where a lot of men get it wrong, is they feel like their worth as a date, as a prospective romantic partner, is their wallet. That if they don't pay, they're not a real man. But I mean, just think of it. Going out for dinner is so expensive, especially these days where some eggs are like $12. After a nice dinner, maybe a few drinks, before you know it, you're paying out like at least $150 for a woman you barely know and probably won't even see after that night. So if you're going on date after date after date, trying to meet a woman who's worth consistently dating, then that means you are spending enormous amounts of money. And realistically, it means only men who have loads of money are able to date. And yes, there are loads of women out there who will say that explicitly, that your only value is to shill out money for her. But all of that is ridiculous. A woman who only values you for your wallet doesn't actually care about you. She doesn't actually love you for who you are. All she sees is a walking bank account, and that is not the kind of woman you want to be dating anyway. So, why should you ever pay? Well, it's for that sexual communication, that sexual visibility that you're giving and receiving. It's one of the many things that you can do to highlight the sexual dynamic between the two of you, to draw attention to that fact. It creates a clear romantic dynamic rather than just a casual or platonic interaction. But here is a major problem. Modern culture downplays this idea. There is a tremendous amount of antagonism toward romance, toward the idea of treating someone like a man or a woman. We're all expected to treat each other just like sexless sacks of meat. We're also told that paying for dinner or opening the door for a woman or any of these things are just outdated social conventions, that they don't actually represent anything real, and that they're just leftover traditions from a bygone era. We're told that anything that brings sexual visibility, that draws attention to the fact that we're either a man or a woman, and that there's a very real, incredibly important sexual dynamic there, this incredible part of life, all of that is cliché, meaningless, just a social convention, and that you should never take it seriously. And all of that is not only not true, but it's a direct attack on your ability to enjoy a romantic relationship. But there are still loads of women out there who value romance. And a lot of them, not because they're gold diggers or because they're entitled, will put a lot of value in you paying for dinner. A woman doesn't want to just feel like some other person sitting across the table from you. She wants to feel desired and pursued as a woman. And when a man takes that initiative, when he takes that action on her behalf, whether it's planning the date, paying for dinner, or simply making a decision, it can make her feel that polarity. And this is the whole point of romance, is it's drawing attention to this dynamic between you and her. But here is the key. Paying is not the only way to do this. This kind of sexual communication can be expressed in so many ways, like picking her up for the date instead of meeting her there, making the plans of where you're gonna go and what you're gonna do, moving things along in the evening instead of just asking her, "Oh, I don't know, what do you want to do?" Holding her hand or leading her through a crowded room, making her feel like you're there with her, not just near her. All of these little interactions are what make her feel like a woman, not just a friend. The takeaway is that whether or not you pay is contextual, and that your worth is not your wallet, and that you shouldn't feel pressured into paying in order to prove your worth. But this also doesn't mean that you should never pay, because a woman wanting you to pay doesn't inherently mean that she's a freeloader or just trying to use you for your money. She wants you to make her feel like she is a woman, that you see her in a sexual, romantic context. But luckily, there are tons of ways that you can do this. My suggestion is that you do not take her to somewhere that requires payment for a first date. Just go to a park or have a video call with her, or just do something that doesn't mean you have to then either pay or you both pay individually. Just go somewhere that doesn't require payment. If there's a second date and things are going well, maybe buy her a coffee. But that's the thing, is it's really up to how you're feeling, how things are going, and whether or not you feel like she's worth investing in yet. What you want to be looking for is if she is wanting to invest in you. So don't start immediately throwing money at these women until you know whether or not they're worth it. But do not feel like you have to throw money at these women in order to show them that you are worth dating. A woman who's looking for that is not the kind of woman you want to be dating. You want a woman who will love you, not just someone who sees you as a resource. Well, I hope this video has been interesting to you. I'm hoping that by understanding why women would appreciate you buying something for her, can help alleviate a lot of the anger and the bitterness surrounding this topic. I know there are a lot of women out there who really are entitled and really just want you to pay everything, but you don't want those women in your life anyway. But if you understand sort of where that mindset is coming from, at least for me, I'm hoping it can alleviate a lot of the frustration. So if you enjoyed the video, if you got something out of it, please consider subscribing. And if you liked it, leave a like. And I hope to see you next time. And thank you very much for watching.